Okay,
I know, I said if you're watching this, you're nuts.
yeah. So
She's nuts.
call the meeting to order. It's about 7 o'clock. And first item on the agenda, additions and deletions or changes to the agenda. So, yes?
I just have a confusion because Renee sent us an updated agenda that is not the one that's in the Dropbox.
Right, that was a draft. And the new one is exactly the same, but it doesn't say draft on it.
Okay, well, this one says, consider a motion to enter executive session.
That was just in case we might need it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
that one we always have in there, or we want to have in there.
oh, I haven't always seen it. Okay, so anyway, it's not on the one in the Dropbox, and that's fine.
Right,
Okay.
okay, so I could see where that would be confusing. So, there is, I'd like to make, add an item to the agenda between 4 and 5, 4.5, and just a discussion about our water, wastewater allocation process. And once we do approve an allocation, the ordinance is silent to how soon somebody has to pay. And the question was brought up, so I'm hoping we just have a discussion on that. 4.5, we wouldn't make any decisions or whatnot, I don't expect. We would just have a brief discussion on it. Any other additions or deletions? And public comment doesn't appear so. Again, the summer doldrums, which is fine with me. Next item on the agenda, consider carrying forward the list of those holding water, wastewater allocations. We had this at our last meeting, and we had a few questions, and I don't think Eric was here. So because we had a couple of questions, which are in the minutes, we said, let's hold off and do it in the following meeting. So we have a list of folks who have allocations that they haven't used in 3 years, and so therefore they want to keep, they haven't used them, it's been allocated, but they haven't built or, done what's necessary to actually use them. They would normally run out, but they're allowed to ask to be, to extend it.
Yep.
Do you want to say where we are on this?
Well, we've got 11 of them. They all have plans at various stages. Some are actually, in the middle of building. For instance, the Meadow Mist property. And we do charge a holding fee, so it's not like there's not a gain from people, having these people continue to have their allocation. And like I said, they all the ones in this list expressed interest in keeping it, and their projects are moving forward.
Right, so there's a new memo in our packet from you to us with the allocations, and is it the same that it was the last go-around? Nothing's changed, right? The names, the allocation holder,
Right,
and
it's just
the
more organized.
recommendation.
These are just the ones that have expired.
Correct.
Right, okay. Because the numbers, I was having a hard time.
There's still
'cause
some that were like from 2016 and all that are
Right, right,
not
so the numbers
here.
don't add up.
No, they do not.
To what is on our designation
Correct.
form.
Okay,
Correct.
total allocated. These are
Correct.
ones that have passed the 3-year.
Right, but
window.
they're included in your number,
They're
but
included in the
there's,
number.
but there's more.
There are more.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
that's one of my questions
Okay.
that I
Yeah.
had.
These
Good
are just the
question,
ones
yeah.
that
Right.
are
And
due.
these are just wastewater,
Right.
right, because,
the next ones to expire will be both. These
right, but we never even gave these people water allocations.
Right, but when we started the water allocation ordinance, July 1, 2016, that was when water allocation started. It didn't exist before then.
Right, but yeah, okay, then
We
continue.
had deemed that those who already had allocation were grandfathered.
wastewater allocation.
Yep, they had
Yeah.
wastewater allocation, they were on the
Right.
water system, they were grandfathered, they were taken care of.
Right, but what numbers did we assign them? That's where my
Right,
question is.
For water allocation, I mean, for actual numbers against the water, I basically gave them wastewater numbers against the water, just because those numbers are actually pretty good.
Right, but that is, but when in the past, we've had to tell the state whether we have enough, and when they put the moratorium on us, we were saying that it was 450. So I just see that there's
numbers
some,
don't
the
match
numbers
up.
don't match, and that's where I feel like we just need to have some conversation on that to be sure that we're being consistent. And because I mean, that didn't really come up when we were developing the water allocation pool, you know, and what we have in terms of what we approved for residential allocation unconnected. So you came up with a number for all the people who were on wastewater, which makes sense.
Right.
And I guess I was expecting that you were using the 450 because that's the number that we had been using all along when we were determining what our water capacity was based on what the state was telling us we could and couldn't do. So I feel like we should clarify that before we move ahead. So I have no problem making this allocation for these wastewaters and extending that. That's fine. But I think before we move ahead with any other, you know, essentially we have not made any water allocations since we came up with this allocation pool,
Right.
have we? Or I think we have actually
We have.
connected
We have.
some people.
Same day,
And
yeah.
those people, I think all of them were.
We're using the
at-
state number.
We were using the state number of 450. So if we're going to change from that, I think we need to clarify that in the ordinance.
Well, I think the ordinance says 450. So
Yeah.
what we're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, some of these older ones, they weren't initially allocated 450? They were allocated whatever the wastewater quantity
We
was?
had no allocations,
Right.
really.
Right.
We just said, yes,
just
you
had
can hook
usage.
on to town water.
Right.
And then I think, correct me, Eric, but then the state said, you can't connect anybody because you don't have
We
capacity.
don't have the water right now.
Right?
Right.
And so now, here we are.
Okay.
We started doing something in 2016 as we felt like we could do a little bit, but, so,
So these are sort of, we're saying grandfathered in?
yeah.
So,
But-
and they will come up for water allocation extensions?
No, we're not, they didn't pay, we deemed that they wouldn't have to pay water allocation because they were grandfathered.
Right.
Okay.
So any new ones are going to have to pay,
Right.
and we have to determine what's the number that we're using for those allocations.
Well, the ordinance now says 450.
Yeah. Unless they have credit for low flow.
Okay.
Which-
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
and that
the-
says that in the
I don't know if it
ordinance.
says it in the
No.
ordinance, but we use the state numbers. And the
Right.
state says if you have if they certify
Okay.
your low flow, they give you 10% credit. And we basically use all
If we're
state
following the
numbers.
state, we're saying
Right.
we can follow
Okay,
that.
all right. If that's what it says, I really would like to make sure that
Yeah.
that's what it says, because we really have to be fair
Mm-hmm.
and consistent with everybody. And we should, I mean, I totally agree that the 450 is not a very good number to use.
Right.
And so those ones that we allocated, that we kind of grandmothered in, you know, we should at least have a list of who those are and what number we gave to them, so that as we move ahead, if they need to change them, we know what we're changing
Right.
and what
Okay.
we can charge them.
We can give them
So that's something
a
you,
Yeah.
I'll assign the grandfathered you know,
And I
ghost
think
or
just
ghost allocation,
a
basically.
memo to the, to Renee and
Yep.
Joy would be okay, probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
The residents will be easy. You have to do a little digging to
And
figure
so
out
then
the
the
figure out the
question,
commercial
right, the
numbers.
commercial one is difficult, and that's what I raised last week was, we don't know whether it's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to be a beer brewery or a office or a restaurant. So, I mean, we can live with a
Right.
certain amount of uncertainty, but it
Right.
seems like
If I
when
know
they're
what they are, there's a whole breakout of what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
In Appendix A of the water rule, so.
okay.
And it would be good to know that because we're already up against.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those quantities make a difference.
And
if
I
they have
think
a s-
as we're working on a policy, we can determine, whether we want to favor high water users, i.e. high sewer users, and promote that it really is an economic development question, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, and if they have a state permit, it'll break down that commercial use anyway, because the state does that as well. So,
All right. I think we've clarified some of it. Any other questions on the memo and how many are there?
11.
11.
Eric, I didn't see Hinesburg Center.
Yes. That one, you paid off. We owe you holding money. You finished that one, you beat the numbers, but you paid it off on June 29th, 2016. And for some reason, they still charged you holding, so we owe you money.
Okay, so basically because all the capacity that was assigned to that building,
Right, it's converted to use.
it's converted because the meter was installed.
Right, it's converted to use. So they,
Even though I have there is vacant space on the first floor,
right.
so there is not a tenant, but since the meter was installed, all the allocation assigned to that building
It's now turned to use.
was technically
Right.
used.
So yeah, there was a.
So then
there was an error
going
they-
forward, then I don't have a problem if here's that my tenant shows up finally and I fit it up and it's, oh, wait.
If your use is still below
Okay.
your allocation, you're fine. It will-
So was
it
that
will
the
be.
total, that 1,500 or whatever that number was, that was the allocation for that entire building?
Right,
Oh, okay.
and that's,
I mean, this goes back to
So-
what, 3 years now, so.
so yeah, I've been trying to get a hold of you,
Oh.
trying to,
Yeah.
you wanna just put it as a credit towards the next one?
Uh,
Because we owe
Yeah,
you.
probably.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think
Maybe.
Eric, I think what you should do is write up an official memo of what's
Right.
happened so that we
Yes.
have a record
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we can decide if there's
Right.
if there's a credit,
Right.
we'll
Oh, there
provide
definitely
a
is.
credit.
I
Yeah.
just I wanted to actually get it, chat it with the person involved
Yeah.
before bringing it forth.
Right, yeah.
And it didn't
Okay.
happen.
Yeah, well, and then also I think the bookkeeping needs to be in the loop too.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's whose idea it was to do a credit versus a check.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
but just to
They-
make sure that
she's-
they're,
They're
it's
in,
really.
they're in the loop.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, I had a question on just a couple specific ones. Thistle Hill, one residence, and South Farm. I thought those places were all built out already. I guess not.
No, there's still a little bit left. Yep. The one in South Farm is, what's it say? It's like, the note on it says existing house and barn.
It's the house there. Yeah.
So it's already there, it just hasn't hooked up.
It's never hooked up.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The house isn't hooked up?
It has its own well.
The red house.
I mean, or its own septic
Right.
Yep.
still.
Oh, and the idea is to hook it up to town water and sewer,
Town sewer.
Sewer.
Town sewer.
Sewer.
but it's been existing on its own septic system?
Mhm.
Because I know they've had people living there, so that's
Right.
why it's confusing.
Yep.
All right. And what's the fee to extend? It's in the,
It's just this, it's to continually, continue on your holding fee, which is, is it 30 cents a gallon, or I forget. It's on our,
and do people pay just?
Quarterly.
Quarterly, okay.
yep.
It's like water bills.
Without water.
Right, yeah.
Water
It's-
sewer bills.
It's, yeah,
Sewer.
it's
Re-
the
regular billing
banking
cycle,
of
I guess.
sewer bills.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other discussion or questions?
I make a motion to approve the renewals, wastewater allocation renewals for those landowners as presented in the memo.
Dated
Dated.
July 27th.
Yep. Yep.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so that motion passed. Okay. Next item is consider approving water wastewater applications received. So we have a memo in our packet for this one. I think it is 4A. And Brett is here. You came last time, again, we came last time, and then there was a little question about the accuracy. It wasn't a question about the application, it was just like, well, is the number quite right? There was a thought about tweaking it, but then in the end, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, that it was accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was accurate yet incomplete. He had credit for the 10% reduction for low flow,
Okay,
figured into his application, but just didn't have the documentation from the state. Brett got me that documentation, and we're all set.
okay, so we have this in front of us, and then, we found that we have another little, small problem in that the allocation pool designations for this category 2, is only 5,000 for the enterprise and 5,000 for the residential. And this application is looking for 7450, no, for the residential, 7452. Is that right?
70-20, I believe.
Yes, 7020, right. Which is above what we had in our allocation pool. So that's a problem. I think, Brett, you were told just today about this, is that? You're finding out about
Voicemail
it?
was left on his
Okay.
that he did not receive.
Okay,
But I do know that within the individual categories, you have a pool.
yes,
And you have enterprise, you have residential.
right.
And so
So be-
the request to the board is you believe by the ordinance, you have the authority to move capacity on the fly from one pool to the other.
We have authority to move it from one to another in between the yearly times we do it, I guess. I think that's fair. In fact, there was a lot of discussion about it, and only just a few weeks ago, when we were deciding how much to put in each side, and I think it was really an oversight. We have a memo in
Good to
our
hear.
Dropbox. I'm trying to, it's holding memo, is that right? Nope.
I think it's 4C.
It's 4B, I believe.
Yes, from Alex. So, he's saying that, oh, this is a slight problem. He gave us, several options. And one option would be to amend the pool designation. And another one is a little more complicated about phasing. And then, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at this because it's fairly new. But, you know, if we were to choose to go with one, we could change those pool designations. It feels like the appropriate thing to do would be to hold off till next meeting, say we are going to, because we haven't warned that, consider changing those pool designations. If we chose to do that, then we could take on this application. I don't see why we couldn't do it at the same meeting afterwards.
Great.
The other option is this phasing, which could be worked, but it does put the applicant at a little bit of risk. And maybe there's other options too, but
Last portions of both these, you know, in option one, Alex recommends that option, he doesn't recommend the other option.
Recommends which option?
The changing the pool to fit the project,
He recommends that one?
correct?
yes, versus the phasing.
I agree. I mean, the conundrum that we're in here is that unfortunately there is a, call it a critical mass, call it whatever you want, when you need to put in the infrastructure necessary and purchase the property, and because moving into the next phase, that, you know, that is not, you know, the infrastructure needed to expand in the land, and that is not paid for items. So there's a significant amount of money and investment needs to happen just to go another 10 feet and into the next phase, and to only be able to build a couple units just becomes economically impossible, basically.
And I think the risk would be you're hoping for the allocation to come, you know, afterwards, and potentially it if we waited that long, it could go somewhere else, potentially, I guess. Any thoughts on this?
I think given Alex's memo about the work that's been put in to make this project move ahead, it seems like the fair thing to do. Because it was kind of, the allocation document, I'm not gonna say it's a guess, educated guess of what needed to go where, but it certainly wasn't, you know, we need this much here, so I think it's a fair.
It was broke up pretty quickly,
Yeah,
it was.
yeah. With, you know, the intent on giving the allocation.
Right.
I would agree that we could move forward, but I would also want to clarify that it's in the ordinance about giving the 90% credit, so that we move forward and are able to be consistent with other applicants.
90%?
The fact that all of these allocation numbers are based on the low flow
Okay.
stuff, and he's presented the documentation, but I want, you know, if we're gonna amend the allocation,
We would amend Appendix E.
Appendix
Yeah.
E.
Yeah,
So somehow I would like to document in the minutes, I guess,
that these numbers are based on the low
low
flow.
flow, and it's and that the state approves it, and that,
Which
Make-
squeezes a little more out of it.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Being an
Which is,
appendix- Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so we don't have to go through a formal adoption process to do this.
Right.
If we were to amend the ordinance, if it's not in the ordinance, it would be a more lengthy process.
Well,
the
not just because of the
appendix.
I know, we don't
Yeah.
have to do it. All I'm
Right.
saying, though, is I want documentation about this
Right.
90% thing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
So we-
And when we do
Amend it
revisit
next time.
the whole ordinance, we be sure to include that language.
Yeah.
Well, we could, you know, so we probably could just do it in the appendix and just say, you know, the town follows the state's formulas. And that would
Yeah,
cover,
that would be
cover
helpful.
it.
Maybe that would be helpful in this allocation pool designation form, since it's all about numbers, and we
Mm-hmm.
should be putting on there what numbers we're using for that stuff.
And that would, you know, that
That
would
would
cover the
really help.
90%, because
Yes.
that is state numbers.
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
Just put
Talking
in,
about this
was just
actually last meeting about these numbers are so
Yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that, but we're,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that, and the next item we're gonna talk about.
Yeah, right.
Is gonna talk about potentially changing the ordinance,
Yeah.
and I think what Brett brought up last time would be worthy of a discussion. So, any other thoughts, Marilee, your thoughts on this?
So am I understanding correctly that we had some allocated for residential and some allocated for enterprise being
5,000
businesses?
and 5,000.
Right.
Marilyn, you can see it right up.
Yep, thank you. So
Category two.
enterprise means businesses, right? So do we know businesses that are coming in? Like is Frost planning to expand? Are we going to be taking away water from some business enterprise that's going to want it? That's really what I'm wanting to know.
Frost just expanded, what, 2 meetings ago?
Yeah,
Yep, they've already got theirs.
okay.
So, I suppose potentially, but I don't think,
Is there anything we know about?
Not that I know. Alex would know better than I do, but not that I know of.
Okay, that's the hesitation I
reason,
have
yeah.
to this.
Yeah, and without that, and knowing what we have, the intent has always been this, and this is just a matter of getting our bookkeeping straight. You know, we set this.
well, I think we knew this
Exactly.
this application was coming down the pike, and I believe that Alex even said, geez, it was a little oversight to
Yeah.
put the 5 and 5 and not match up with what we kind of knew was coming, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
this is, I kind of think of this as a continuation of that conversation when we set this. So, no, I don't have any problem with this at all.
Yeah, and neither do I. I mean, it seems like it's the right thing to do.
but we have to do it at the next meeting.
Yes, I think it'd be appropriate to at least warn that we're, and if somebody had an issue with it, which at the
Yes.
last time, I don't think we had any concerns. It was just recommendations, via Eric and Alex. So I think we'll, at our next meeting, take a look at modifying Appendix E, the allocations between the different pools, at least in Category 2. And if there are any other recommendations from Alex or Eric,
Did you want to throw draft numbers at that tonight to have it ready?
we could, I think,
What Alex said was 75
Alex
and
had,
25.
yeah, thought residential
There you go. There you
75
go. Use those.
and
Perfect.
25 enterprise as a
Yep, I like
reasonable
it.
modification.
The other thing is we should definitely put dates on these documents,
Right, yeah.
because there are so many of these, and this
Trying to
should
keep
have
it all
a
straight, just prepping his
Well, where's,
On the
yeah.
top, is there not? Wait a
I think
second.
it's just the email date, which is I think,
It-
today.
Well,
No,
right
that-
up
That's not
here.
the date.
Oh, I thought you meant on the.
No, the
It is.
date of
email.
that document, it's effective July or August 1st, or,
It says July 1st.
I know,
But when
but
was
we
the
had
document
many
made?
drafts of this,
Of Appendix E?
of Appendix E,
Yeah.
and the numbers are different
Oh, I see what you're saying.
on different ones, so,
The adopted one is that, though.
right, and is the adopted the one that's on the website? Okay,
Well, that's
So-
a conversation
We've had already,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
so perhaps, Joy,
I'll make a
if-
note to look that up.
Yeah, and we'll have a draft for us, and if we
Yeah.
just put a date of adoption
Yeah,
on there,
yeah.
and underneath, are there spots for signatures?
yes,
Chairs on
Commissioner
that.
Chair.
And date, so that would
Okay.
cover it.
Yeah, that would cover it, but it might be good to have it print on the print as well as, what, yeah. Just,
It's a good idea.
I looked at a lot of them, trying to match up the numbers.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think we need a motion to do that, I think we're in agreement.
We did make a motion, though. What was the motion?
That was,
That was, we moved on to the
Moved
next
on,
agenda
okay,
item.
yeah.
We're on the next agenda item.
Thank you.
Brett, any Other discussion? Okay. All right, we'll move to the next item, which is the added item. It's just for discussion only. I'll call it 4.5. It came to our, it came up in the last week or two that we could allocate water and wastewater here at this meeting, and then when is the payment due? Because, we were asked specifically, when is the payment required? Could it, could it be delayed?
So in the ordinance, it is addressed for new construction. It's due before a CO can be obtained. The only part that is fuzzy is when you're doing an expansion of use with someone who already is existing. For instance, Frost is already there. They want more use, so they're asking to spread their allocation payment over 6 monthly payments. And with the request, they're saying, well, it's going to take us that long to ramp production up anyways.
Right, but the allocation fee is not due when there's a CO.
It's due before you can obtain a CO.
It's not a certificate of, you're paying for the allocation thing way before you start building. You don't get you get the CO when it's built.
Well,
It's with
your
zoning permit.
application
The
is...
zoning permit,
Okay.
not the CO.
But I believe in the ordinance, I think that's like the last stopgap. I believe it says a CO cannot be obtained without final payment.
Oh, final payment.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I think we should
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I would assume that you.
Right, I would have brought it had I known it was on the agenda.
Well, if you're gonna, well, we can look it up, but your
Right.
allocation, I would think that you'd have
need-
to start
Your
paying that.
application fee is upon sketch plan approval. Yep. And then you have to have everything, all your connection fees, allocation fees, everything paid before you get a CO.
Can you just walk us through the process? I've just moved to town. I'm building a house.
Once you get sketch plan approval, you go for preliminary approval of your water wastewater allocation.
Okay, so I apply for it. I get it.
And then you pay your application fee.
And that's based on,
Is basically 10% of your total allocation.
so my allocation, say, is $1,000,
So you're gonna pay $10 of application.
100,
Or 100, sorry,
10%.
100, sorry.
So I pay
It's been a long day.
100, and then I don't have to pay anything else until the
You pay-
day before my CO.
No, you're paying holding fee for as long as you're dragging your feet, for one.
Oh, so it's the holding fee.
Right.
So when does the holding fee kick in?
The following quarter after you are done application.
Okay, so I've built it, and I didn't have a holding fee. And then before my CO, I've got to pay the other 90% of my allocation. So in the case of Frost, who has asked this question,
Right. He's existing.
he's existing.
He already, he's not building anything. So
Right.
he's asking for an expansion of allocation. And he wants to, because it's a significant amount of funds, he wants to break it down over 6
Not
payments.
pay in the first day.
Pay 10%, break it up into six monthly payments. And he's ramping up production, and he's like, it's going to take him more than that time to get to where he needs to be anyway. So it seems like a fair request to me. How to keep it, consistent and all for down the road is, well, that's what you folks are for.
I mean, since he doesn't need a CO, where's the gate that says
Exactly.
you're,
Exactly.
you've reached your capacity and now, or you can't have another drop until,
But the thing is he's hooked up, so he can be using it and never
Yeah.
pay.
right.
True. Well, it'd catch up. We'd eventually say, hey, here's what you own and here's what you're using.
Have we ever done that?
I've mentioned to Frost that they were getting. I've mentioned to him he was getting close before. Yep.
Is it addressed in the ordinance? what to do?
It's not.
There's something else to add to
Yeah.
the ordinance.
My concern with this is that it's gonna be troublesome for the bookkeepers to try to keep track of it.
They did it actually in a very extensive process. They did it at the cheese factory for over like 5 years or 7 years. I forget what it is. Several years they took to pay off their allocation. I wouldn't want to do that again.
During an increase,
Where,
slow
for smoke and
increase?
cure and kimber.
Yeah, for them, their allocation was
because they used
They
a
just-
small amount and then it built up?
they just had some kind of deal when because for economic development they pulled a deal just trying to keep the money from, trying to get built before they started paying all the bills, trying to get income before they started paying heavy bills. Basically, it was a deal that predates me by a ways. But they just paid that off last quarter. They're done finally.
I'm not against the request by any means. I just
Right.
want to make sure that it's not overly burdensome for us
Right.
and it doesn't get kicked under the rug and forgotten
Right.
about.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Or the next person says 4 years instead of
Right.
6 months. And what's allowable, what's not.
Right.
Again,
I mean,
defining it.
do we need to define it, or is it just a case of you folks and say, well, that's reasonable, or that's not reasonable, and tell them no or yes?
And if we're worried about burden on the bookkeeper, we could make it higher payments instead of 16.6% over 6 payments. It could be like 20% for each payment. That's what they often do. If you're going to pay over time, you have to pay more than if you pay all in one lump sum.
Well, we could always just have them paying holding fee until they're finished.
Similar to
But
what.
how do we
that would
know
make
when
it
they're
easy.
finished?
Yeah.
They would have, they'd have 6 fixed payments. He broke down his, I'll do 6 payments of this much over 6 months. And
What
we
are we
could-
gonna do, Eric, with someone who has just made some significant payments and then all of a sudden says, well, I didn't know I could break my payments up. That would have been much,
Well,
much more
this is-
fiscally.
no. Yeah.
It's a precedent.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's, there's nothing wrong with asking, but is it a precedent that the town wants to set?
Well, I think we already have a very clear policy which says you don't really have to pay it all until the day before your CO, right? That's in there.
Yeah, so when you're building, you have a long time to do it.
But in this case, you're asking for more. And there is no CO gate to go through.
Yeah, maybe we just determine a window of time.
X amount of quarters or something.
And I wonder whether they have to get anything from labor and industry, inspections that
Probably.
when they're they're doing all kinds of new
Right.
plumbing and stuff like
There-
that.
I'm sure
we
there is
could-
a-
they probably have to get some,
Yeah.
it's not a CO from us, but
Right.
maybe not. Maybe
I
they
mean,
don't
they
because they're
could
not
just-
doing anything out
Right,
on
they
the
could
building.
just be, running 2 shifts, which
Yeah.
wouldn't require labor and industry. So that's
Right.
probably not a good
Yeah,
way to
Right.
do it.
yeah.
I mean,
Do they actually plan on using more water?
It sounds like it's going to take them at least that long to ramp it up
So they're really not planning on using any more water
until they have it paid, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, and we won't know because we only read the meters
Quarterly.
quarterly. So I would say let's give them a quarter. 3 months. They're gonna pay the holding fee, right?
After 3
I would
months.
think, yeah.
Well, they have to pay,
pay the
they have
holding
to
fee
pay the holding
regardless,
fee right
regardless.
away,
Yep.
right?
It's, at the, quarterly.
Quarterly, right.
Quarterly.
And then they would have to pay for the allocation
10%.
after the next, by the next quarter.
Yeah.
So that would be 6 months. But what I don't get is if they don't pay it, I mean, it's a similar, if they just don't pay their bill, what leverage do we have?
Well,
We
the
put it- we
ordinance
put it-
probably says.
Yeah, we just
what
put it on the
can
water
do.
bill, and if they don't pay the water bill, we shut them off.
Yeah,
It's not much.
pretty
I mean,
simple.
That would take a while, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, it
It's like-
isn't so,
You just tack it to the water bill,
yeah,
and then non-payment of water bill means
okay,
we shut your water off,
yeah.
and people
Well,
don't
you
like
have to
that
go,
much.
I mean, is it easier to turn the water off for a business than it is for a residential?
It's not that hard for resident either. It's,
Okay.
it's,
All
it's,
right.
it's really not
Okay.
You're talking legally.
Legally,
Yeah.
yeah,
Legally,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. It's not
Yeah.
like a renter. It's not like,
okay,
an eviction.
okay,
Yeah.
It's a service.
okay,
Yep.
all right.
So we sort of have a hole in our ordinance because it's not clear when somebody applies for more. We've provided the allocation, and it's, tens of thousands of dollars. It's not insignificant. And in this case, they've come forward and said, great, but, I'm not gonna be using the water the first week. And it doesn't even say when it's due, our ordinance,
Right.
because it's,
I think 6 months is a very reasonable, ask. Especially when, like I said, they're going to be paying holding fee during that period anyway.
But they're gonna only have to pay that holding fee after the
Twice.
first 3 months.
Yeah, we'll pay it 2 quarters.
Well, depends on when they start, right? Because our billing period is,
If they have holding in the quarter, they pay the fees.
Yeah.
They'd end up with two periods of holding. Yep.
and does that mean then that the allocation isn't due until the third quarter? I would make it the
No.
second, I mean,
Right.
they're paying I would say they have to pay all the holding fee that first quarter.
the next
And
bill
then,
goes out.
and the next bill goes out.
September 30th, right?
I would say that I would.
Well, what-
I would
what
actually say that
happens?
you pay your entire holding fee each quarter until you're paid off. That you're making payments, but you don't actually have
Right.
the allocation
You are holding it, I'd agree.
until you've paid it.
So the next bill goes out on the
Rather than
30th.
doing like portions.
Right. The next bill goes out on the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
Will it have the holding fee in there?
It should. Yes.
Do we know for sure?
I'll make sure.
Well, I mean, I would hope the system would
Right.
make sure
Right.
that, and then the next bill would go out on the 30th of December. And unless it's completely paid up, there'd be another holding fee.
Or the allocation, when's the actual allocation fee due?
It would be, well, if we agreed to the 6 months, it'd be 6 months from when the allocation fee was, when the allocation happened, which was in June,
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Something like that.
So that would be the 6 months, I would think.
So turn of the year.
Okay, so the actual fee is not tied to the quarterly billing, just the holding fee.
Right.
Right. He wants to actually pay 6 monthly payments.
Well, we're saying quarterly.
Yeah. I mean, he could, I guess, hold his payments, but I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I don't think it'd be that difficult.
That's what he said he wanted to do. That
Right.
he's willing
I
to
don't,
do.
I don't think it'd be difficult for him to bring him in every month.
Okay. Well, then we should write up some kind of
Yeah,
contract.
that's exactly what,
This is just a discussion, you're not making a
Right.
motion.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, because if we do this, you're gonna have more.
Yeah.
So I think there's gotta be at least a minimum number, allocation number,
Yes.
before we even consider such a thing again.
Right. You have to be sizable.
Right.
Yep.
but how many times do we get people, I mean, there will be more, I don't
It's mostly,
disagree,
it's
where they ask for more allocation.
occasionally. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, if somebody's converting
it's a
something to a
place,
duplex.
I forget the name of the place,
Smoke and Cure asked for more, right?
The mayor of Mechanicsville Road, I forget their names, the people who own half the property there.
Giroux?
Yeah, they've got they had an expansion because they're breaking into smaller, extra units.
Yeah.
Small expansion.
Well, so here's an idea. we ask them to write up a contract of what they're willing to do. They've heard everything we've said tonight.
Right.
And we could consider it for the next time. And, you know, I think we make a goal to update our ordinance by June of next year and address the couple of holes we have. This one, you know, when is payment due? When you, you know, consider when payments due, and we have prior to CO for a new allocation, and what would it be for an extension or a additional? We could consider Brett's, the whole allocation fee and the number of gallons it's based on. Should it be the state number or, you know, sort of something
Historical that we.
historical, right? And there may be a couple of other things to
Well, I
consider.
would say that, or that by the end of the year, of this year, we will have a report from the allocation committee also. So that's something that committee can make a recommendation on.
Yep.
Yeah, and if they're going to make payments over time, do we want to add a little interest? Because it will be more paperwork for the
Well,
town.
I mean, you kind of are because they're still paying a holding fee.
Right.
Okay.
So you're already doing interest as such.
What is that holding?
Yeah, I didn't bring it.
Did you say so many cents?
Yeah, it's on.
You were thinking like
It's on the
30.
fee page 12 of the ordinance, and I can't see it right now. It's 30 cents, I think.
It's not cheap.
No, it isn't that cheap. And some people have had, you know,
Right.
have been doing it for years
Well, I'm just thinking,
for interest or.
but you grant me 7,100 gallons, that's just water.
Yeah.
That's $2,100 a quarter.
It might be 3 cents. I'm not. I know there's a 3 involved. So.
$2,100 a quarter is almost $10,000 a
Yeah,
year.
good. I don't have it on the top of my head. This agenda item wasn't on the agenda, so I didn't prepare for it.
So I think that's sort of a proposal. I don't know. Your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's where we want to go with it, honestly. You know, it's kind of where we're all leaning. And this idea of cleaning this up, because there's just so many people interpret, you know, as it goes around, as honestly as they think it is, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's trying to pull a fast one. It's just memory works differently for everybody, you know, so I agree. Allocation holding fee, I think is it this? that we're
50
looking-
cents per gallon,
Gallon.
gallons per day per quarter.
Okay.
So 2,000 gallons, $1,000.
Yeah.
And this was how much for frost, the increase?
Oh, sorry, that was, what I was just showing you was water. Wastewater is the 30 cents.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
I knew there was a 3 in there
So
somewhere.
Yeah,
wastewater's 30, water's 50.
Yeah,
And how much did we or did we allocate
I
for?
don't remember off the top of my head for frost.
Well, it was like 75,000 for the
Right.
allocation. So
Right.
it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be a little bit of money. So I think what we're saying is, if the applicant wants to propose a 6-month schedule or whatever a schedule to pay the allocation over time, based on the fact the consumption would increase over time, then they could present a written contract that, you know, you'd be willing, he or she'd be willing to do, and for the select board to consider. And then we agree, we'll go through this ordinance both ordinances, water and wastewater, and correct this sort of hole in it of when the payment's due for applications for increasing allocation.
Yep.
So I think it's a great idea to go through the ordinance and clarify, so that if this situation comes up again, which it likely will, it'll be really clear what happens. Are we gonna do that as a whole select board? I don't.
No, we typically don't do that. And since I've done the last two, gotten involved in the last two, I'm willing to work with Eric and Renee or Joy and of course bring in Alex. And I think the committee, the allocation committee, they may recommend some changes to Appendix Z or the process and how we determine the yearly, all of that. And the goal would be certainly before next year.
Okay, good.
And there's a process. If we wanted to amend this ordinance, it would need to be warned
Yeah.
and public, at least one public meeting, I think. So, all right,
Excellent.
okay,
Are we set with that?
I think so.
Before you head out,
Yes.
can I ask you how it went here on the corner
Excellent.
on Tuesday? And
Yeah, we got
it was
down.
Tuesday.
Man, for the potential that one had, it went very well.
Yeah,
I mean, because one, we were right in the intersection,
kind of a busy
but
intersection.
managed to.
Easy access.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it actually, everyone was like, "How are you gonna do that? How many cops are you gonna?" It's like, I'm not gonna need traffic control, just because it was on the turn lane.
Yep.
I got rid of the turn lane and used that as a work zone. And well, it went quick. It went well because it was small. And we had a chance to investigate and mine out what was wrong.
Is there any
We
correlation
actually found.
that there's all these right in a row here? I had one down by the church, I had the one in front of the town hall,
I,
one next to
There
us.
is, and I can bring in the culprit. But
Yeah.
so we actually found this because of all the dry weather. John noticed stormwater in the pipe down at the intersection of Green Street.
I was going to ask you about that
The new
too.
stormwater pipe that
Yeah.
was
Right.
put in a little while ago, right?
And it's like, why is this wet? So we tested it, and it was high in fluoride. It's like,
Town water.
blankety blank, 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 blank. And followed it uphill and knew it was in that general area. Called in location specialists, and
They can hear it.
used listening devices and correlation devices, and it all pointed right to that valve. So we showed up with a bunch of bolts and such, thinking that was a bonnet, and sure enough it was. And luckily the gasket was still fine, so we didn't have to take it apart. We just put in new bolts. And
Is this all the same issue that we're seeing all the way down
it was, well, it's just sort of. This was not the same bonnets as the ones that are, this was a different brand valve. This was a Mueller. The ones we've been having problems with are Kennedys. But it was still, the same issue. The bolts had rotted out. They hadn't used stainless bolts.
How old were these?
This one is a little older, I believe, than the Kennedys. I'm not sure. When did they dig out the fuel tanks at
Lampman's?
Lampman's?
Oh, that was a while ago.
So it was shortly after that, because this is all done in. This section of pipe was all redone as part of that reclamation effort.
Oh, okay.
There's a section of pipe that's poly-wrapped ductile because it's in the contaminated area.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I had the engineers on site from Waite and Heindel with their sniffers
Yeah.
to
Right, you
check
need
the
to do
soil.
that, yeah.
And this soil is good, and luckily we didn't get down to this soil is bad, but we had a plan for that as well,
Yeah.
and it just went really smooth.
Now,
But yes, as far as the are they all related? For the most part, yes. And it just has to do with iron, hot soils, and age. I mean, the pipe in this section of town the pipe itself is actually doing great. It's everything connected to the pipe.
Is this the transite pipe?
Yeah, the pipe itself's doing fine. It's the saddles, the flares, the bolts, all the connections.
And if they were stainless, they probably were
They'd
lasted.
be fine.
Yeah. So you're getting some galvanic rust.
Yeah, this clay soil is tough.
Yeah. Now, so what would stop us from you taking the listening device and going to the valves and seeing if they're leaking?
Oh, we've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done
Proactively,
Oh,
sort of,
absolutely.
yeah.
We've already done that, and
Okay.
we had that huge leak detection round last year.
So they went to these.
At these and at all the curb stops.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that they didn't show up then?
Right. They weren't leaking then.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So the other leak that happened at Green Street, Tom had mentioned about the idea about needing to put a meter, so we would have detected that sooner. But can you describe what,
A meter on the 8-inch.
A meter where the town property ends and the private property begins.
Well, the main we adopted the main through there, so the private property is all just each individual service.
Oh, I thought that was the private landowner at basically Charlotte Road.
No, that became a town main. Yep.
so we have a right of way for that main on the private road,
I believe so. It's
and then.
they built it to spec. They put in tracer wire as required and everything that we asked for. Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, that one, yeah. That one was. Yeah, it was that was a funny one. I mean, brand new, and it'd all been pressure tested. I mean, by the best guy in the state. You know, I was there checking it out with him, and it was tight when they built it.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the same situation as Thistle Hill, but that was relatively new
Right.
also.
Right.
Yeah.
So now I have another question. So we did the work in front of the church, and I haven't asked anybody at the church, but the barrels are still there and it's still
Yep.
dug up. When do we go back? And
Tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay.
Okay, so while we're on that, where are we at with, in front of this house here, in terms of
That's going to be at the
seeding?
same time.
And then out by, across from Friendship Lane?
That we will. I think we're going to do that ourselves, so probably early next week.
Okay.
Yep. We're trying to save money on some of them, and just
By combining them together and doing some yourself.
and then some ourselves. By it's
Okay.
just
I mean, are you
the ones that are lower.
communicating
The ones
with
that are lower tech, we like to do ourselves.
That makes sense. Are you communicating at all with the landowners? I guess they don't actually own the land, but
Yep. We talked to the
Funding
church.
landowners.
And,
Okay,
and,
good.
yeah, it was
All
just a
right.
case of the excavator. They got behind. I during this job we had a little heart to heart because he was so far behind. He was ignoring my texts about when you're coming back to do the finish work. When he just never replied back. Say, hey Dave, you've been ignoring my texts. Yeah, I know. I've been drowning.
I guess it's understandable that we can't get it exactly when we want, but if we're, as
Right.
long as we're communicating with the landowner or the people that are impacted and saying,
Right.
we haven't forgot about you, and here's when.
Yep. And I
We're
pinned him
coming.
down, and he promised me it'd be done
Okay.
this week. So.
All right.
And
Any other questions for Eric? So you got a couple memos that we were looking for. One, maybe from you or from you and Missy about the credit to Brett. That could be really short, saying, here's what happened, and we should provide a credit. And then there was another one.
A list of all the
Yes.
historical
Right.
lot that are in that reserved, not what's it called?
In,
The allocation pool.
yeah.
That one might take a little bit. I mean, it's not that difficult. It's just a lot of moving parts, and
Yeah.
we're just.
It would be
Yeah.
good.
We're kind of
'cause
swamped
that
right now.
That will slowly diminish over time, who knows how
Absolutely.
long
Right.
time, and then we won't need that anymore.
Right.
But it is good to know what the quantities are.
Yeah,
right?
who
Yeah.
they were and what the quantities were.
Yeah, Brett's will get out right off the bat, and the
Okay.
one I'll work on.
So Eric's still moving forward on the new well, the haystack well.
Yes, right now we're moving at the speed of state. you know.
Understandable.
You know, it's, the source permit has been, you know, submitted to the state, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And that's, you know, nothing happens until that gets the beautiful stamp of approval.
And that just entails the water quality.
Right. It's just, they've got to look at what, well, quality, yeah.
But we don't know
It's
the
all the
quantity until
geology,
it's-
art, science, you know, crystal ball stuff,
Right.
you know. And so Cindy put all that together for us, and it's up there and doing whatever things do when they get there, which is a grand mystery.
Sit under a
And,
book.
and what's the status on the grant for the,
Asset management,
yes,
it's moving right along. I think we're done everything except for one little tedious, which I don't know if it's holding us up any, but they need it. We have to file our DUNS number with sam.gov, which we're running into issues with because it says we're already a customer, but we don't know how to get into it.
okay,
So-
so who's working on that? Is it
A mixture,
Tyler?
a mixture of myself, Missy, and Renee,
Okay,
all trying to,
All right.
and also kind of prodding at the state. Hey, we can't get into it. Are there ways around this? You know.
so I think we had thought it would be like 60 or 90 days, but maybe that's just in the back of my head that we would find out
Right.
about it.
Well, we've been granted the. I mean, it's ours.
Okay,
It's ours. It's just getting the final touches.
all right,
Yeah,
Because at the
good.
time, there was like 2 in there or something. One
Yeah.
guy-
Oh yeah, we were definitely. We were. I'm sorry.
we're in the running,
Yeah,
but
we were blessed a while ago. Yeah, we're just getting the final minutia in line to be, you know, running with it.
okay.
Yep.
All right, anything else for Eric?
You're
Great.
Oh, you should announce your open house
Oh,
tomorrow.
absolutely.
Oh.
Yep, we have a open house / tour of the water facility from 10 to 2
Tomorrow?
tomorrow. There'll be snacks available.
Did you see my email?
The first, I did, but I forgot to respond to it.
I know.
Yeah, there's there's
So-
no ages. There's just come as you are, come when you want. It's
So
open.
I didn't put it up
Okay.
on Facebook
Okay.
because I didn't get a response and I didn't see it
Yeah,
anywhere
I
on
was
Front
just-
Porch Forum.
It should be
Yeah,
on
it
there.
was just on today, so
was
I
on
mean,
today.
I would
It was on
suggest that
today?
it should
Yeah.
be next week.
Maybe we
Yeah,
can
Because
delay it.
It's-
nobody knew, I mean,
It's advertised. I've had people call about it because it was
Oh.
advertised statewide.
Okay, well then, good, I'm
Is this
glad
like
someone
that thing
knows.
last year was on a Saturday?
No, it's a
Was it-
Friday. It's
No,
a,
but
it's,
last year, remember, wasn't there something like this last year where there were tour facilities
I
around
think
Chittenden
there
County?
was.
I
Yeah.
remember doing that at different
Yeah.
facilities.
Yeah, they moved it to a Friday this year. Same thing. It's Water Quality Day.
Yeah.
oh, so
Okay,
it's
so
a
it's a
statewide.
statewide
It's a
thing.
statewide
Okay.
thing. It's been
Yeah.
advertised through state channels as
Do you
well.
think it will be every year?
Probably. If well, it's every year. It's available every year.
Yeah.
Hinesburg doesn't have
I see.
to do it.
Yeah.
We just
It
volunteer.
would
to
have
be
been
one of
good
the-
to have it in Front Porch Forum, like
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Monday,
Yeah.
and Tuesday,
Yeah.
but, okay, so it's 10 to 12 tomorrow?
10 to 2.
10 to 2, and alleged snacks, too.
Alleged
And
snacks.
all the water you can drink?
All the water you can drink. First 6 tourists have the ability to get free Water Quality Day hats.
This reminds me of like Maple Open House
Be
in the
busting down all.
springtime. Maple Open House in the
Down the
springtime,
doors,
you know,
yeah.
it's
Yep.
like this kind of thing. Go
But yeah,
to
I mean,
the
that-
sugar house.
That the blurb I sent is the same exact one that's on the Front Porch Forum.
Okay, well, I'm glad it's on Front Porch Forum because it's not in Facebook, so I apologize. I just was like, I don't
Didn't
know
know
the
what to
answers
put.
to some, yeah.
Okay. All right, well, good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Great.
Got a great team there. They'll all be there reading, dressed up and ready to go.
Just me and John.
Okay.
Bart had to take a short day tomorrow,
Okay,
so he's got something else going on.
yeah,
But yeah.
Hopefully, there's no breaks tomorrow.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, we know how to get a hold of him if there is.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good. Thanks, Eric. Next on the agenda, Town Administrator Report.
Okay. So I am happy to report we received a check from CSWD.
Wow.
Yes. So we're moving forward.
The Gilman Road check.
Oh, no, that one I already reported.
Oh.
I'm sorry, for the highway garage
the well. Oh, excellent.
Yeah, and we are going to have a meeting with Sarah on the 10th of August to discuss some other details, but we are moving forward, which is nice to see.
And that will be a little tour of the highway area too, or not?
Question mark.
Okay.
Question mark. Sarah's coming over here. Whether that could happen, we'll see.
Okay.
No promises. But it's nice that we received that. We have had some further conversations. I think I shared with you guys last select board meeting about a bridge, the historic bridge. Sorry. I haven't heard anything yet back from, sorry, let me just get that back up. The state in regards to if there's an appropriate bridge for us, but we have, Renee's been doing some work around, is it less expensive to do asphalt versus concrete?
Right.
So that's still in conversation, and it appears it is less expensive to do asphalt, but now we need to find out about the durability
Yeah.
of
That would be my
asphalt
concern.
versus concrete.
Well,
Because
I
we're
mean, I
going to
think-
take it over.
we're going to take it over, yeah. But also, I mean, but is the state going to allow it?
The state
okay,
seems to
okay.
be willing to allow it. We've
Okay.
just been passed on to someone else. We're working on our third person
Okay.
at the state on this project in the last couple months. I think we need, obviously it needs to be maintained for the greatest amount of durability.
Right.
But we want to just make sure that we're not doing something that's really going to compromise the
As
longevity.
long as, I mean, my experience is if the base is there, I mean, we have a great example on the all along CVU, that's asphalt for the bike path.
Isn't it along the canal too?
And it's along the canal, that's been there for 20 years.
It has?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And it's all in how you do the base.
Okay,
And
well,
there's good drainage, really.
so we've been, following that piece
Yeah.
through, then we will, once the numbers are clear about the engineering piece of it, because we'll have to do some new engineering, we will then reach back out to Jan Blumstrand at NRG to see if there's a possibility of some picking up of the balance. So the shortfall between the grant and what the actual construction is quoted at now will come together. So stay tuned, but we're making some progress.
Did you read the Front Porch Forum post from Johnny Finity about?
Yeah, that was yesterday. I read that.
It was
Yeah, that was
very
good.
detailed about how they choose a site, and it was really presenting Hinesburg as a new site.
Oh, the CSWD, okay, yes, I did, thank you.
So that's a different topic.
Yeah,
Back-
different-
Back to
thank you, yeah.
CSWD. Are you good with the bridge and?
I'm good with the
sidewalk?
bridge and I'm good with CSWD, but yes, I did read that.
It's pretty much exactly the same thing that they put out
Yeah, and
6 months,
except-
when they closed.
Except now they actually had some dates in there,
Yeah.
which seemed a little,
And some very
Worrisome.
clear steps of how they decide whether they're even going to have a site.
Yeah, they had put that out
Eight clear
before.
steps, oh,
They
okay.
had put that out.
but I think
Quite
this
a
is the
while
first
ago.
time we saw a date of 1919,
Right, yeah.
So that was a little disconcerting, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
Seeing
in
that-
1919, I mean, they're not gonna, they will be able to be on site by October 1st. I mean, it's realistic to think that they
Yeah.
could get it done in like 2 months, but.
Right. But
But
I
I
mean, I
would
think
say-
our original sort of hope was they'd be designing it now because
Yes.
they know the space
Yes.
and they're talking about the need to survey it. Well,
Right.
it's already surveyed.
Right.
So, it seems like the building will be complete and then they'll be basically, well, they're doing a different they're doing a study of all of Chittenden
Yes,
South.
yes, and I think
And
that
they're-
I'm
yeah,
confident
they've
that
said
we
that.
will, many issues can get resolved
okay.
on the meeting that
I
Renee
think
and Joy have
Okay.
arranged.
Yeah.
That following Friday.
right, good.
And we'll update you. I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah. And on the CSWD, we did say we were going to go to the next meeting, but it was canceled because it was summertime, summer
Yeah.
doldrums.
yeah,
So,
it's a lot of that.
yeah.
And lastly, Renee and Jean Jensen, Adam Bunting, and Chief Koss met last week and talked about the SRO. Seems like the SRO conversation has been heated a little bit into action. So they would like to come to the next select board meeting and meet with you guys and discuss the SRO conversation, the school resource officer. Once again, they are very interested in getting that going for this coming academic year.
And from, I think, what we read was they are, I think if they had everything ever was equal, their first choice would be Hinesburg for obvious reasons.
Right, that is right, based on the location of the school.
So my suggestion with that, I think, yeah, we can certainly have a conversation, but if there's any information they could provide us ahead of time,
Yes.
Okay.
that would be
Yes, I just
helpful.
feel like it
Yeah.
wouldn't be a very productive meeting.
Yeah, if
for
we're
us
just
to
finding
just
out,
hear it
right.
there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, since
Yeah.
it is the middle of August at that
Yes.
point.
What's their ask? What's their timeline? You know, these
Well-
kinds of things.
Yeah, so we'll see how much they can define.
And especially the finances, what are their thoughts on the
Yeah.
finances? Because my understanding is there's this 3-month summer break essentially, and they're expecting a town to, like Hinesburg, to pick up the cost of the policeman for that period of time. That's,
I
I
guess,
mean, I think it's a very, I mean, it is
What's
it's
the
an
cost
issue
here?
that we really need to understand the financial implications a lot, and we need the citizens of Hinesburg to be aware of this.
yeah,
Okay.
but good, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I think that's it. We're good.
All right, anybody have anything for Joy? Or Renee, who's probably listening? We should be behaving ourselves a little more.
She hasn't
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
texted us yet,
Oh,
so
good.
maybe she's gone to sleep.
I just took care of it. Hopefully she's watching the Red Sox beat up on the Heat.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
so it's fine.
For water?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so 10 to 2 tomorrow at
10
the
to 2.
water, yeah.
Check that score time, it's the other way around.
Next item is Select Board Forum. Does anybody have anything worthy of sharing? Announcements? Besides the baseball game score?
Yeah.
It's gonna be a long
I
weekend.
would like to, I guess, report that the Lake
She's here, by the way.
Ah,
The Lake Iroquois Association had a garden tour of rain gardens and all their efforts for addressing stormwater last Saturday, I think it was. Maybe it was Sunday. I can't remember. Anyway, and the town was thanked a lot for the road crew's efforts at addressing a lot of the stormwater that is coming off of Pond Road that goes down Pine Shore Road and goes down through another culvert through some property landowners. And the Lake Iroquois Association is very appreciative of the town's effort in helping. So
Good.
I just thought you should know the town provided some stone for the, you know, the top part of the ditches that come off of Pond Road. I mean, there's plenty of erosion that's happening on the private roads and in people's yards, but certainly the town is a contributor, and we are helping and being thanked.
good. There's also an email from the Lake Champlain Water for tours on the,
right, from
Lake?
Jane Dixon.
yes. Has everybody got
Water
that email?
quality,
Yeah.
quality
It's like
conversations.
6 in the morning, some of them
Yeah.
are 6 in the morning, some are,
Encouraging conversation on.
so I'm gonna look at that. I don't know if we wanna try to go as a group or go in a different, at different times. Did you see that email?
I
Did
saw
you get a
it.
copy? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a 3-hour tour. But it
It's a dated
sounds
reference.
like have some information.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we could see if it's worth us all going at once and seeing the same thing. That might not be a bad idea. I think they can take 5 or 6 at a time, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a number of options. Not sure, it must be in my other email. But,
Okay.
oh, here we go, from Juliana Dixon.
4 to 5
Two and-
person. participants.
Yeah, from August 21st to September 26th. I'd be willing to look at this and pick 3 or 4 dates and throw a doodle poll out there
I'm
and see who else could do it, and maybe some of us could do the same day. And mine, I'd prefer the 6 a.m. one.
It looks like there's only 2 that are not 6
Right. So,
Yeah.
all right, we'll do that.
Well, I would say that there are going to be some representatives from Hinesburg, from the road crew, and Joy and Renee that are, the Lewis Creek Association is sponsoring a trip with Melisira, with the UEVM research. We've invited road crews and town staff, basically from the interior towns instead of that are in the La Platte and Lewis Creek watersheds, to go out with educators from UVM, and researchers, really. And that's going to be on August 22nd, I think, in the afternoon, from 3 to 5, right before our meeting. We have a meeting that Thursday,
The 16th?
the 22nd.
We don't have a meeting.
Oh, we don't?
No.
No, it's the 16th.
Oh, but the tour is on the 22nd. Oh, okay, good, okay.
So I don't think we have we have one the 2nd and the 16th.
Right, oh, okay, good.
Anybody else?
You were terrified there for a minute.
I did.
I have a question. So we have the Gelman Road issue resolved for now,
Yes.
but going forward,
Are you talking about the high grass, or are you talking about
no,
the
I'm
property?
talking about the property.
Okay.
Was there anything in our decision or the papers we signed to prevent the same thing from happening?
Again,
Yeah.
we are keeping a watchful eye
Okay.
on the status of Gilman Road. And visiting. I haven't been there for about 2 weeks, but I plan to go back, if not tomorrow, the beginning of next week, and keeping an ongoing conversation
Yeah.
with the resident there to create relationship and hopefully therefore to stop continuation.
Yeah.
I can tell by the sound of your voice that my 2 weeks has maybe been too long.
I just know there's still somebody living there.
Oh, that she can live there.
Yeah.
She
For
can live there.
90
She has
days.
a 90-day camp.
Okay, 90 days.
The clock is
That
ticking
answers
on her
part of my
90
question.
days
Okay.
of camping, and she can renew her 90 days of camping one more time. So she'll have 100. She can have 180 days of camping. After that, she can't be camping.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that was.
No,
Because I know
that
several
came
of the
up,
neighbors
yeah.
and they tell
Yeah,
they
and,
see the light on.
yeah, and that did come up a couple of meetings ago, where we, maybe that was the one you might have missed.
I
and-
must, yeah.
And we
Yeah.
said, oh, we got 90 days, and so,
Okay, that was the one I missed.
good,
Yeah.
good one.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm good too. Next item is review minutes. We have 2. We had the last meeting, which must have been the 19th, and then we had a follow-up meeting in the morning on the 26th, just to vote the tax rate. So those minutes were in our packet, so,
I'll make a motion for approving the 26th first, that short one, because that was a really easy one.
yeah.
I'll second it.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Were there any comments or corrections?
I noticed that in the other minutes, it's listed who's in attendance, and on this one, it wasn't. I don't know if that's because it was a short meeting or special
Oh,
meeting.
that would
but-
be good.
No, we should put it
Yeah,
in.
we should put, so the entire select board was there.
Okay. For
Missy-
the 26th.
Yeah, Missy Ross was there, and Renee was there. You weren't there,
I was
right?
not there.
Yeah.
Nope.
So we can add that in there?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, these were done quickly after.
Probably
the fact.
Renee.
You know, Renee
Yeah,
did
she
them.
took 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
done
Okay, so
quickly
we'll
just
add
to
the
get-
attendance.
Yeah,
But that's easy enough to do. If Renee wants to just forward me the PDF, I can add that in myself. If you just want to give me the PDF, or not the PDF, the Word document,
Oh, okay.
you know, just send me the Word document, I'll just do it.
Oh, or I can do it tomorrow and send
Either
it
way.
one way or
Wh-
t'other.
yeah.
Thank you. Great.
If you want
Thanks.
to dump it on me, that's fine.
thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else there? So we'll add the
There's your.
attendees.
The attendees were there. I will check. Yes, they were present, but you did not record them.
So
We'll take
all
care of
those in favor of approving the minutes as amended, say aye.
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 Aye, so it's approved.
Phil, before we move on, there's one thing I'd like to add in Selectboard forum.
Yes.
So I want to thank Kurt and his crew from CVU. They've got the ball field at
Looks
Lyman
great.
Park renovated to an official softball field. So now the Hinesburg girls will actually be able to have a softball game
Oh, that's great.
next spring.
On a softball field.
They did it on an actual softball field, but of course it's open to residents too. And if anybody wants to put together a pickup game, it's a real field. So call
Nice.
Jen at the rec office, and it's a great addition.
Great, it is. It looks
Great
great.
renovation. It looks
Yeah.
really good.
Maybe somebody
Yeah.
will challenge the select board and town staff to a game.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Looking around the room, I don't know.
It'd be a blast.
All right.
Maybe we should concede.
So if we have a motion for July 19th minutes,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended for July 19th.
I'll second that for you.
all right.
No,
I
that was
had-
for the 26th.
The first one
Yep.
was the 26th.
We did that one
Yeah,
already.
we-
Now we're doing the 19th.
Yep,
Right.
correct.
Oh, but you want to approve, you feel comfortable with them, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the 26th we approved.
We approved.
It's
Yep,
done.
okay.
Yep.
So I had one comment on it, and in the town administrator report, the last comment says, Phil asked if there was any feedback received by those receiving the water bills regarding the increase, and the answer was, not yet, or none, there was none. But it was just really put
Yeah.
out, so I wouldn't expect there would be. So there was none.
And Missy, because I thought that my water bill was higher, I thought that I was seeing the increase. She said it's not even going to come until the next bill.
Okay, but they,
They announced it.
yeah,
They announced it,
Right.
but people won't see it until next quarter.
okay. There you go. That would be a good reason why nobody complained.
Yeah,
Or praised.
Any other
yeah,
corrections?
I think there's a word missing under consider approving water wastewater application received, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth kind of paragraph. Andrea questioned the fact that the state permit, da-da-da. Brett said the letter from the town states the town can support the project, and then there should be a but or an and, does
Yeah.
not give a number.
Right, so, the town says for the applicant that, yes, we can support it, but we don't have to give a number,
So there should be a but in there.
yeah.
You're always good at getting those.
Any others?
I didn't find anything
All right,
else.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so those two very small corrections. All those in favor of approving the July 19th, 2018 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so those are approved. Very good. Next item is consider approving the warrants that are here, payroll and AP.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? They look fairly typical. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We did have a motion, a agenda item, consider a motion to go into executive session, which we are trying to have in every meeting, just in case it's needed. We should have said in the beginning of the meeting that item 9 is not needed today. So that's it. If there's a motion to adjourn. And Ken, I just want to thank you and the VCAM group that, I think we moved into this space, I'm going to say 6 months ago. It's probably,
Yeah, beginning of the year.
yeah.
somewhere around
It's worked really well, and we appreciate you all for making this happen.
Works for me too.
Good, yeah. We've gotten, I've gotten feedback that the sound system works better. I think it's working better
Or lack of feedback.
on TV, the
Yeah.
projection. So, thank you very much. So with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very good, thank you.